Welcome to April. So let's look back at the month that was in movies for March. You guys know the drill. Every single beginning to the new month, I like to look at the movies that I watched the previous month and basically give you some short reviews on these films. I don't go too much in depth, but I give you guys my reaction, my perceptions on these films, and my overall thoughts. So anyway, any movies that I talk about today, I want to know your guys' thoughts down below. So make sure you guys post your guys' thoughts on these movies in the comment section if you have seen them. And let's start off with the first movie that I watched in March, which is Raya and the Last Dragon. This is a movie that was highly anticipated for me. It made my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. The trailers for this movie have looked incredible, and I was very excited to see this movie. And I will say that this movie really does deliver something truly fun, something truly imaginative, and it's able to take the Disney formula and do a little bit of something different with it. There's a little bit of a twist because the character that you kind of expect to be the hero throughout the entire film, Raya, this protagonist, in a way, there's another character who has to be the hero at the end. It's very interesting. It kind of comes full circle, and so I did really like that perspective on the movie and the fact that they changed a little bit of that Disney formula that we know and love. This movie reminded me a lot of Moana. I thought it was going to remind me a lot more of Mulan, and after watching it, I think back to some of the animation, which is, by the way, absolutely gorgeous. We'll talk about that in a second, but it really made me feel like I was watching a story that seems similar to the story of Moana, but mixed with those incredible influences of movies like Mulan and others that came before it. So it's able to kind of mix the old with the new in terms of the Disney formula, which is also really, really nice. I love the voice acting performances. Kelly Marie Tran does a phenomenal job as Raya. Awkwafina is really, really good as Sisu. I think that's how you say it, Sisu, the dragon. There's a lot of fun dialogue. There's some really fun and interesting side characters that really are dynamic in their own right, and they kind of bring some humor and sensibility to the film that wasn't quite necessarily there if the movie was just going to focus on Raya. And one of these characters is a baby that I just absolutely loved and adored. I think that character is very genius and very different for a Disney film. The soundtrack is impeccable. It is a beautiful soundtrack. It reminded me so much of things that are so familiar and epic in scope because it has that epic fantasy music, but also at the same time, it hits on the emotional beats of the story by using really, really good music that's able to orchestrate what is being portrayed on screen, and I loved it. And also, something that goes really well with this movie is the beautiful animation. I touched upon it a little earlier. The animation in this movie is hands down maybe my favorite animation I've seen for a Disney movie in quite a while. This movie is gorgeous. The palette is incredible, mixed with a bunch of different colors. Not only that, everything feels so tangible, like you could actually touch it. The water actually feels like you could actually reach into your screen and touch it. It looks that real. The characters, their shadows, Disney's really able to use the small details and make it feel so personal, make it feel so real to the viewer that sometimes you forget that you're watching an animated film. It is beautiful, it's astounding, and I absolutely love the brilliancy of the animation because it's absolutely beautiful. The only thing for me that was unfortunate about this movie that kind of makes this movie take a step back a little bit, this movie at times can be a little too childish with the humor. And I know that it does that because it wants to appeal to both a younger and also a broader audience by kind of bringing in the populace, those that have families and kids and things like that. And it's a really good family film, but I feel like this movie sometimes can be a little too immature, and that's the thing that kind of makes this movie stand out a bit more from films like Moana, films like even Frozen or Tangled, or these newer films, these new 3D films from Disney. And so to me, the movie kind of lost a little bit of that magic and that brilliance with this immature humor at times that I just felt to me, just really pandered to a younger demographic, and unfortunately, I really didn't find it to be funny. Overall, though, this is a great Disney film. I can't say it's one of my favorites, but it's definitely a film that I want to revisit, and it's a movie that I'm happy that I paid the $30 on Disney Plus to be able to watch, because honestly, it was a great movie to watch with my wife, and it's just a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It gave me what I wanted, and it's absolutely beautiful, and the soundtrack is honestly just breathtaking. Anyway, guys, those are my thoughts on Raya and the Last Dragon. What did you guys think about this movie? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video, and let's move on to our next film. Nobody is a movie that stars Bob Odenkirk. It's being compared a lot to John Wick. Basically, a suburban dad has two thieves come in and break into his home, and it ignites this rage in him that has long been put aside, and his dark past becomes revealed as he was more than what people think he actually is. Now, does this movie deserve to be compared to John Wick? Yeah, it does. It really definitely takes a lot of inspiration from John Wick. It's basically in the same market as John Wick, so it's going to appeal to people who really love these action films where the protagonist is just absolutely demolishing people, because that's what happens in this movie. I love Bob Odenkirk. I've been a big fan of his for a long time, and I think he really does bring it in this film. He's great. He's very charming, and he fits the title of being this nobody, this guy named Hunch Mansell who has a family. He's living the suburban dream, but he also knows that this wasn't always going to be the case, that eventually his past would catch up to him, and that's what happens. I gotta say, this movie's a lot of fun. It's really just a lot of fun. I knew what I was getting myself into. I knew going into this film it was gonna be a lot like John Wick, and that's exactly what it is. And it's a great time. It's honestly a really great time. It's one of those movies that you could just sit down, have a big bucket of popcorn, stuff your face, and just watch the carnage on screen. There's a lot of really nice choreographed action sequences in this film, especially one that's on a bus. I did feel like that this movie, however, is not as strong as John Wick, because I feel like John Wick, they do something that's bigger and better, whereas this movie, that bus sequence was the best part about the movie, and then everything else was kind of just using a gun, shooting people. But it's still really cool. Christopher Lloyd is easily also one of the best parts about this movie. He plays Bob Odenkirk's dad, and he is great. I thought we would barely see him. When I saw his name in the credits, I was actually very surprised at the beginning. And I was like, oh, he's going to come in for 5 minutes. No, he has a very prevalent role in this film, and he's phenomenal in it. And I loved it. The thing I will admonish about this movie that I actually liked more than John Wick is that this movie actually felt like the plot was there, whereas the first John Wick, even though it's amazing, and I love John Wick, and Keanu Reeves is so good, I felt like the one thing that was missing was a really concrete plot to get him to wake up again and become this deadly person. Now, granted, his life sucked, and there was a lot of things that were going on and escalating that just were built up and built up over time until he snapped, but this was one of those instances in this movie where it made sense. He wants to protect his family, and the only way to do that is by really kind of waking up and becoming this nobody, essentially. This person who is almost a thief in the night. He just comes in, wrecks shop, leaves, no one questions him, and it's great. It's really great. It's a lot of fun. Honestly, I can't really say anything else about it. I think the movie does lack a bit in terms of plot. Even though I did say the plot is better than John Wick, it still lacks in that department. I also felt like the first half of the movie was a lot better constructed than the second half of the movie. But I will say that there is a post-credit scene that really kind of leans itself to trying to create a sequel. And will it get a sequel? I don't know. With the state of the pandemic, it's possible. I think it's definitely possible. And I'd love to see this character come back in some type of form. And are we going to see a team up of him and John Wick? Like, that would be amazing. Can we get a collab? Like, that would be insane. Imagine that. I think this is a movie that definitely leans itself into the John Wick type of world. The villain in this movie, not really intimidating. I will also say that I felt like the villain was a little weak. But other than that, it's a fun movie. Honestly, it gave me what I wanted. I don't really have anything else to say. I know this might be a really boring review, but it's a lot of fun. Definitely go check out Nobody if you have not. Those are my thoughts on Nobody. What do you guys think about this movie? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. And let's move on to the next movie. The last movie I want to talk about is Wrong Turn, the 2021 remake. This centers around a group of friends who go hiking at the Appalachian Mountains, and they are warned not to go away from the marked trail, and they don't listen, and they end up coming across this village of people who are known as the Foundation that have a certain way of life, and things start to get very dicey and people die, and there's some horrific things that are shown within this village. I was very curious about this movie. This movie actually came out technically in January. It had like a one-night release. I thought about going, but the one showing that they had was 40 minutes away from where I live, and it was like $16, and I was like, no, I don't want to see this movie that bad. And I'm happy I didn't spend $16. I spent like $6, so I can deal with that. But this movie also came to digital Blu-ray and everything like that in February. So technically, is this a March release? No, but I'm going to count it anyway because I do want to talk about this movie and talk about how this is really not a remake of the original early 2000s Wrong Turn film and the franchise, because I know there's like a bunch of direct-to-video sequels. I saw the first Wrong Turn film, like the original Wrong Turn film, which is, by the way, about a family of cannibals that ate a group of people. And I don't even remember like all the people being friends or something. It's just like they all kind of came together in a way. Eliza Dushku's in it, and I had a massive crush on her back in the day. But the weird thing about this movie is that this movie is not a remake, and the fact that they named it Wrong Turn brought the original writer of the original movie in to write this movie along with, you know, the director of the film was very odd to me, because I feel like this movie probably pissed off a lot of Wrong Turn fans. I don't know a lot of fans, to be honest with you. And the only time I did watch the original Wrong Turn movie was on like the Sci-Fi Channel. So, I mean, I was still, because the Sci-Fi Channel kind of runs that like little gray area where it does show a lot of violence. But then again, that's like the only experience I ever had with Wrong Turn, because I didn't know anything about where the franchise goes, even though I heard it's kind of bonkers and it's really weird. But this doesn't have cannibals in it. It's funny, they do reference the original Wrong Turn twice, one subtly and one very much a wink to the audience. But I feel like this really would have, if you went into this movie being a Wrong Turn fan, like the original Wrong Turn fan, you're going to be disappointed by this, because that's not what this is at all. There are similar things to it. The setup of this movie really feels like it's going to go in the remake route, the direct remake route, but it does not deliver on that promise. There's even a scene, and I remember this in the original film, of these logs rolling down the mountain as all the friends have to disperse and try to run away from these logs. And that reminded me a lot of the first movie. So there are those homages, but again, it's very different. The Foundation is not a group of inbreds or anything like that. They're actual like people who believe in a certain way of living that's been set since like 1860. The main actress in this film is really good. I haven't seen her in anything else, but she was really good in this film, and she becomes a very good heroine character. She does some things that are very questionable. She makes certain decisions that you're kind of like, wait, what? That's what's going on? I'm fine with it. Matthew Modine's in this movie. The guy who was the scientist in first season of Stranger Things plays the dad. He's pretty good. I mean, I don't really have anything more to say about him. Like, he's actually more in the movie than I thought he was going to be. So there's that. Feels like this movie's trying to do what a lot of remakes are doing now, like whether it be the Black Christmas remake, which was completely different than the original film, and it also is a pile of garbage, where it doesn't lean into the heavy nostalgic factor of what the movie or the franchise symbolizes. Like, Billy is not in the Black Christmas remake at all. There are certain moments that feel like it pays homage or feels like it's a throwback to the original, and that's what this movie does. But again, no cannibals. There is no torturing of people, really. For the most part, I will say every character in this movie, except for the lead actress, the lead villain, the leader of the foundation, they're all idiots. They're all stupid. They're moronic. They're robotic. And so I feel no sympathy at all for her, like for her friends, because they are stupid. They do all the wrong things that you should never do in a horror film. And that's the biggest problem that I have with this movie. It's a very interesting movie to me. The two references I talk about when they refer to the original film is there's one moment where a character dies and then these horrid looking people that look horrid because they've had their eyes basically burned out of their skull, they end up eating this guy. So it's like cannibalism. That's like the subtle one. The second one is the wink to the audience reference comes at the end of the movie. Jen and her dad, they're safe. They made it out. This is a few months later. And her brothers apparently picked out a movie for them to watch that involves cannibals. Yeah, that's basically the wink and the nod to the people that are Wrong Turn fans. They're like, hey, this isn't what you thought it was going to be, but wink, wink, we know what you wanted. Overall, this is a movie that was fine. I'm happy I saw it, but I don't think I'll ever watch it again, to be honest with you. I just feel like there's a lot of questionable things that the characters do that don't really add up or make sense. It was easily avoidable to escape this situation. And then you find out that the foundation, although they're the villains, they have a reason to be upset with this group of friends. I don't know. It's really hard. It's a movie that should have been named something else. I feel like if it was named something else, the expectations would be something else. Whereas this, I was expecting really a remake to the original Wrong Turn. I'm happy they did something different, but I don't know why you named it Wrong Turn. I don't know. It feels like a disservice to the fans. I'm not even a fan of Wrong Turn, but I don't know. It's a very weird film to me. It's a very weird choice of going this direction. Anyway, those are my thoughts. It's not scary, I would actually say. It's probably one of the most tame horror films I've ever seen. And it's even R-rated, but yet it was still tame. What did you guys think about Wrong Turn, the 2021 remake? Let me know down below in the comment section of this video. What did you think about all these movies? What did you think about my take? I know that you might not agree, but we can have a civil conversation down below in the comment section of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching these videos. I like doing this every month to kind of give some love and some representation for smaller films that I don't talk about throughout the course of this channel. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel for more movie reviews, movie rankings, and much, much more. I do so many cool videos on this channel, so you guys definitely need to hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next video. Bye.